Hello and welcome to this quick little tutorial. Um, so, like 2 days ago, I had a question, um, and the question was: is there a way to change the proxy model when it is attached? Um, and I got an answer pretty quickly from Nemzi, so shout out to Nemzi for that. And he or she said the trick is to have two selections on the model, and then on was attached and on was detached to hide, show the selection you need. The flag, so the vanilla flag, does it when it's attached to the flagpole. So I looked that up. I looked into the vanilla flagpole, and we can see it has its own skeleton in the model CFG. One it has folded and the other is opened. We all know what that means. Then of course you have your default CFG model, and it has all three selections. So camo is the texture, and folded and opened is both models. So this was a bit tricky to actually find out because we don't have like access to the P3Ds, so I didn't know exactly how that was configured in the model itself, in the flag model itself, but I figured it out through trial and error basically. So that's basically the reason why I'm making this tutorial, so others can learn from that and yeah, do the same thing basically. As you can also see, it has class animations. One is hide, the other is or folded, and the other is unfolded as well. Then we have then I had a look in the config CPP for the flag. Where is it at? Oh, yeah, right, it's there. So you can see hidden selections in the flag base is camo, so folded, unfolded is not included here because we don't actually need it. It's for the model itself, not for textures. And we have the class animation source. Here it's folded, unfolded, and the init phase is 0 on unfolded, which means basically we don't show the or we don't play the animation that changes, or as far as I'm understanding that, we don't play the animation that unfolds um, the or shows the model when we attach it to the flagpole. And unfolded, we play this animation. That's how I understand it. I'm sure there's room for improvement on this complete tutorial. Um, like I said in the post, there's room for improvement, I'm sure, and every feedback is welcome. But that's how I understand it. So if we attach it to the flagpole, it is init phase 1, which to my understanding means we play the animation that unfolds the flag to what it is when it's attached. So yeah, if we're talking about setting up proxies and slots and then the actual class of our newly imported model, I will attach all of this with a little bit of explanation everywhere written in the post, in the guides and tutorials post, but I'll show you now what I did to the model, and then we will go over the config CPP. Like I said in the post itself, in the guides and tutorials post itself, I won't show how we do proxies or how we make proxies or any of that. This is just like a pretty specific guide on how to change a model based on if it's attached to something, to a slot or not. So, like I said, this was a bit hard to figure out how it is configured in the model itself, but there is a few things we have to look over and do in order for us to show a different model as an attachment than it is on the ground or in the player's inventory, for example. So we have the lot 0 here. And we can see we have 3 sections or 3 selections for the textures. Those are 3 different textures. I can do this here. You can see that those are just the textures. But then it's important that we add 2 new selections. One, this can be named whatever you want, it doesn't matter. But for me, I named it attached, which is just basically a new model to get rid of or to save a little bit of performance. And then we have not attached. Not attached is basically the same model as we would have here with these 3 selections. Let's put that back. Yeah, so that's very important that we have 2 new sections or selections in the model. Then you would probably want to also include that in the other lots, which I didn't do here, or I didn't do now. I will do that later. But the reason for that is obviously so we can minimize or decimate the mesh a little bit more the further down in lots we go. As you can see, there's nothing in here. Let's go back. Alright, then we have to include the, or as far as I'm aware, we have to include the attached selection in ViewPilot as well. You probably, I'm not sure though, also need the not attached selection in here, but you will see later it works with just the attached selections in ViewPilot. Then if we go into geometry, the same thing. As for the memory lot, I didn't do anything in here with the attached and non-attached selection. Land contact the same. Nothing in here other than the standard components. And then for view geometry, there's attached and not attached in here as well. Like I said, this has taken me a lot of time to figure out. So I'm not 100% sure you actually need attached or not attached in there. I haven't yet tried to not include that in here in order to figure it out. But yeah, I think if we go into the flag, we could see that in here. So yeah, it's in geometry, it's folded. There is 2 selection or 2 sets of bounding box min, blah blah blah, all that for the standard model, and then in view 2 would be probably the opened or unfolded model. Though, like you see and like you'll see soon, I don't have that in memory at all, and it still works. So just because something is working doesn't mean it's right. So I'm open for feedback there as well. But yeah, like I said, the most important part is you have 2 separate selections in there. What I did with the not attached is basically just select all 3 selections and made a new selection. You can do that on new, and then click on all 3 and then redefine that. So that's how my 3D model is looking so far. And now we'll go into the config CPP on how we do things there. Or actually we could go into the rec. It's just the standard proxy method. You add the proxy to the model you want to attach it to. You put it where you want it to, and if you want to, you can also rotate it, which I did here in our case, just to fit the proxy itself with basically the lore. But that's not important right now. So, like I said, just normal procedure. CFG patch as CFG mods, because this method does include some basic knowledge of scripting, which I would consider I have basic knowledge of scripting. I'm not a professional at all, but yeah, I'll going to show you the the script for it as well. Like I said, shout out to Nemzi for the tip that actually led me to understand it and make it happen. Just for the sake, I included some comments here that you can read through if you want to, but most of you, I would assume, already know this sort of stuff. So here in the CFG non-AI vehicles, we basically create our proxy. It, I think it doesn't need scope 2, but I'll just include it here. It's important that we, in the inventory slot, we actually give it the slot name of our slot that we create. The model is also not needed in there because, like I said in, where is it at? Oh yeah, it's right there. We don't need to include the model because it uses the model of our inventory slot, which is here. And the this right here is, we can find that in let me just made some comments here as well about that. Oh yeah, it's not included here, that's why. Let me just include it here just in case. I tricked myself here again, which is awesome. So we have our actual item. Here's the model. This is what it's going to use as for the slot. And we inherit basically a second item from our base class. Just in case, I'll include that as well, but I won't include the description. Just put it down there. All right. So yeah. Yeah, like I said, the DNA sample in our case, it uses the 3D model from our base class. This could also be, if it's not a base class, this could also be in here, but yeah. Now going back to the actual configuration of the things, because we're going off topic now a little bit. Sorry for that. Yeah. So we have set up our proxy. We have positioned that in our rack in our case, which is this thing here, and we have set up everything else. Now we need to go over the base class, or if it's not a base class, your standard class. We need to include an animation source in here, which is what I showed you was in the flag base class as well. So in order for that to work, we need to have a look at our model CFG. I'll also include that in the post, but that's how it has to look. In our case, the model CFG, you can define your own skeleton here, which is what I did in our case. And for the skeleton bones, we have attached and not attached. So attached, what it will look like, what the model is or looks like when it is attached to something, and what the model that doesn't look like or looks like when it's not attached to anything. So these are the skeleton bones we have attached, not attached. Then we have our CFG model here, just inherit from the default. And then for the skeleton name, we have this over here. So for the sections, we include attached and not attached, as well as camo, camo 1 and camo 2. So all 5 section selections in our case. And then we need to define the animations for that, because it is actually an animation, the changing of models. So yeah. As for the not attached class, which is the section or selection. This is basically the same, except for the selection has a different name. So all two are basically the same. The change happens in here, which I talked about in the init phase. So we have to include that, the animation source in here as well as in the model CFG. You probably also noticed that I'm not the best at explaining things. I try my best to explain things. I know I'm going off topic a lot and talk around. Yeah. If anything is unclear, please let me know. I'll try as best as I can to explain it again. But yeah. So here is where we actually change the texture, or not the texture but the model itself. So that's how it would look like in our actual config for the item. Now we're going to the script, and I'll also include that as well. It's very simple, but it's very effective as well. For our base class, we make sure in our void, in our constructor, we set the show selection to not attached. So it shows this right here. Yeah. Right. So it shows this when it's not attached. And when it is attached, or we hide the selection attached, so it doesn't show this by default, it shows this by default. And then we override void, or the void on was attached. Alright, so I had to cut something out there because I was talking a little bit of bullshit there. But basically, again, when it is attached to a slot, we hide the selection not attached, which is this, and we show the selection attached, which is this right here. And when it is detached again from the slot, we show the selection not attached, which is this, and we hide the selection attached, which is this. And how that looks in game is pretty cool. Alright, so we're in game now, and I'm going to show you how that all looks in practice. So if we put that in the actual slot, you can see it changes its textures. And the reason for why I did that is pretty simple. I want to let players still have the ability to see the proxy, but save performance as well. That's the reason I did that. And you can see it fits in there, and it changes its model based on if it's attached to something or not. And you can see it does that pretty well. So thanks again to Nemzi for that. Like I said, if you have any questions at all, please ask away. I think I now know pretty well how that works, and I'm sure I can give more tips as well. But yeah, that's how it works. Thank you very much for listening and for watching, and much love.